Storytime with Aunt Ula. Hello, kids. Good morning, Auntie Ula. What are you hiding behind your back? Is it a present? I have something special for you today. Is it a pumpkin? Auntie, you're so silly. It's not just an ordinary pumpkin. It's a basket shaped like one, filled with the world's best invention, candy. But before you help yourselves, I want to tell you an extraordinary story. So extraordinary because it happened on an extraordinary day. But it's a long story, so you'd better sit comfortably. Yay! Another amazing story from Auntie Ula! This time, it's a story about a little girl named Maya who once joined me on a journey to the far-off United States. I met Maya a few years ago during one of my travels around Poland. Back then, she was a sweet little girl with big, curious eyes. You would have liked her instantly. Over time, we developed a special bond. We spent time together walking and sharing stories in the evenings. Maya, the daughter of my distant cousin, always called me Aunt Ula, just like you do. When my cousin told me that Maya dreamed of traveling to America, I suggested that she could join me. I was already planning to tour the entire United States, and it's always more fun with company. I knew it would be something special for her, something she would remember for a long time. However, I didn't expect that her arrival would coincide with Halloween, a holiday that's almost unknown in her home country. Maya arrived in the U.S. excited, though a bit lost since it was her first time in a foreign country. The journey was long, but the girl felt like she was stepping into an entirely different world. The hustle and bustle and the diversity of people at the airport struck her right away, something she had never seen before. Everything was so colorful and fascinating. As soon as we got home, she felt like she was in a fairy tale. The neighboring streets were decorated with pumpkins carved with crooked faces, paper ghosts hung from trees, and colorful lights were everywhere. This is Halloween, I whispered with a smile, seeing the amazement on her face. Maya, though she didn't fully understand what this holiday was all about, was curious about everything around her. But let's move on to the most interesting part of the story. One afternoon, I decided to send Maya to the nearby store to pick up a few small things. I also reminded her not to forget the candy for kids visiting us. You see, on Halloween, candy is a must. Maya picked a small pumpkin-shaped basket, carefully filled it with colorful sweets, and headed back home with a smile on her face. On her way, she felt her shoelaces come undone, so she stopped for a moment to fix them. She bent down, and her long blonde hair fell over her face. As soon as she stood up, something caught her attention. The basket, which just moments ago was full of candy, was now completely empty. Surprised and confused, Maya looked around. In the distance, she saw something white quickly disappearing around the corner of a building. You won't believe it. It was a small ghost, and in its hands, her candy was gleaming. Maya didn't hesitate for a moment. She grabbed the empty basket and ran after it, determined to get her sweets back. She raced through the narrow streets, clutching the empty basket in her hands. Her heart was pounding, and each step deeper into the unfamiliar part of town sent chills down her spine. Had she really seen a ghost? Or maybe it was just a child in a costume? No matter what it was, Maya knew one thing. She had to get her candy back. She stopped for a moment, trying to catch her breath. Suddenly, she heard the voices of children playing nearby.
Trick or treat, do you have any more sweets? Trick or treat, tonight monsters rule the street.
Dressed in various costumes, the children looked as if they had just returned from trick-or-treating. That's a Halloween tradition. Kids dress up in different costumes and go from door to door asking for candy. And those who don't prepare treats for the little tricksters risk getting pranked. Maya approached them cautiously, trying to understand what they were saying. "Did you see a ghost?" Maya asked shyly, standing at the back of the group. The children stopped laughing and looked at her with curiosity. "A ghost?" replied a boy dressed as a pirate. "On Halloween, ghosts are everywhere. But maybe you saw one of the little ones? They like to cause trouble and steal candy." "Where can I find it?" Maya asked, slightly worried. "Ghosts?" asked a girl dressed as a fairy. "There are lots of them at the cemetery, but I'm not sure I'd want to go there alone." "Cemetery?" Maya felt a cold shiver run down her spine. In her home country, cemeteries were places of silence and solemnity. But here in America, she wasn't sure what to expect. Still, she knew she couldn't back out now. She thanked the children and headed towards the cemetery, which fortunately wasn't far. When she arrived, her heart started beating faster once again. The cemetery looked very similar to the ones she was familiar with. Candles burned on the graves, and some spots were adorned with flowers and colorful decorations. In the distance, she noticed a few people placing candles and quietly chanting with each other. Maya approached a family who was lighting a candle on a grave. A woman, noticing her, smiled warmly. "What brings you here, sweetheart?" the woman asked. Maya told her about the little ghost that had stolen her candy and how she was now searching for it in the cemetery. "Ghosts?" the woman pondered for a moment. "You know, here, ghosts aren't always like the ones in stories. On All Saints' Day, we remember our loved ones, those who have passed away. We light candles to show them the way if they wish to visit us." Maya listened with interest as the woman explained this Catholic tradition. She knew of the holiday, but she had never really thought deeply about it before. "And what do people do then?" Maya asked, intrigued. "You see, child," the woman began, noticing Maya's thoughtful expression. "On All Saints' Day, which we celebrate on November 1st, we visit the graves of our loved ones in cemeteries. We bring flowers, usually chrysanthemums, and light candles, small candles, and glass lanterns. These lights are our way of showing that we remember those who have passed away and that we wish for their souls to find peace. It's also a symbol of hope that one day we'll meet them again." "That's really beautiful," Maya said, gazing at the hundreds of small lights flickering across the cemetery. "Yes, it's a very peaceful and reflective holiday," the woman added. "People remember their loved ones, talk about them, and share memories. It's a moment when we can feel that even though someone is gone, they are still a part of our lives." Maya felt she now understood more about how people observe this holiday. Still, she hoped to find the little ghost that had taken her candy. Ghosts or not, candy theft was not acceptable. She thanked the family and continued deeper into the cemetery. As she walked, she noticed that some graves looked different from the others. They were decorated with flowers, candles, and sweets. Intrigued, Maya approached one of these sites. Another family smiled warmly at her. "This is Dia de los Muertos," explained a man, seeing Maya's curious expression. "We remember our departed loved ones, but we do so with joy, bringing them things they enjoyed in life." Maya looked at the colorful decorations, smiling sugar skulls called calaveras, and plates of food that looked like a true feast. The thought alone made her feel hungry. Wait, I thought this was more of a somber and reflective holiday. she said, surprised. In our culture, we believe that on Dia de los Muertos, the spirits of our loved ones return to us for one day to enjoy life again, even if it's just for a moment. But it's not a sad time. It's a moment to reconnect and show them that we remember them, the man replied with a smile. We bring their favorite foods, sweets, and also pan de muerto, a special bread that we bake only for this occasion. Each dish reminds us of something that connected us to those who have passed, added a woman standing nearby, pointing to a beautifully decorated altar. And these skulls? Maya pointed to the sugar decorations. Those are calaveras. Skulls symbolize life and death, but for us, they are not frightening. Quite the opposite. They are colorful and cheerful because we believe death is a natural part of life. This way, we learn not to fear it, but to remember the beautiful moments spent with our loved ones, the man explained. And the flowers, he continued, cempasúchil, or marigolds, are called the flowers of the dead. Their intense color and scent are meant to help the spirits find their way back to their families. Maya realized that the spirits the family was talking about were not like the ones seen in movies or fairy tales. These spirits, while they may visit their loved ones, do not steal candy. After all, why would they need to steal candy when their families bring them their favorite foods and sweets to show that they are remembered? That's so warm and joyful, Maya said, feeling that although it was all about the departed, there was nothing scary about it. Yes, because death doesn't have to be sad if we remember those who have passed with love and joy. For us, it's a time when we can be together with those we love, even if just for a moment, the woman concluded with a smile. Maya felt a warmth in her heart. She understood now that different cultures have different ways of remembering the dead. But they all share one thing, the memory and love for those who were dear to us. Reflecting on this tradition, she felt a mix of emotion and, at the same time, a sense of helplessness. If it wasn't these spirits who took her candy, then who could have done it? Feeling disheartened, Maya began to make her way home slowly. The night was cold, and the streets were quiet. The Halloween lights still flickered in the windows. But for Maya, the magic of the evening was beginning to fade. The basket she held was still empty, and her hopes of recovering the candy dwindled with each step. Suddenly, she heard a soft laugh and the rustle of footsteps nearby.
Trick or treat, do you have any more sweets? Trick or treat, tonight monsters rule the street.
When she peered around the corner, Maya was met with an extraordinary sight. A whole group of children dressed as various monsters was running toward her. There were little vampires in red capes, werewolves with fake teeth, witches in large hats with black cats perched on their shoulders. Their faces were painted in ghastly colors, but Maya noticed that behind those masks, there were wide smiles. "Hey!" shouted one of the witches, noticing Maya. "What are you doing here alone?" The girl stopped and looked at the group. She felt no fear, only relief that someone had noticed her. She told them her story, the ghost that had stolen her candy, and her attempt to recover it at the cemetery. The children exchanged glances and then began to laugh, not mockingly, but in a friendly way, as if they knew something Maya had yet to discover. "That's probably one of our little pranksters," said the werewolf, who seemed to be the leader of the group. "On Halloween, we have these kinds of tricks. Ghosts, vampires, witches, we all like to have fun. But if you want, we can help you find him." Maya felt a glimmer of hope return. Finally, some good news. "Really?" she asked, her eyes shining. "Of course," replied the witch. "But first, we need to figure out who it was. A little ghost with candy? We have a few suspects. The group of children gathered around Maya began to move down the street, leading her through more alleys decorated with pumpkins and paper ghosts. Their laughter and conversations filled the cool autumn air, and Maya felt as if she was part of a magical story once more. Maybe her adventure was just beginning. As Maya walked with her new little companions, her curiosity grew about what would happen next. Each child shared tales of various ghosts and pranksters that appeared in their town every Halloween. Some stories were funny, others a bit spooky, but all had a touch of magic to them. Suddenly, Maya caught sight of a small white shape darting between the trees. Her heart raced. Without hesitation, she ran after it, leaving the laughing group behind. Determined to retrieve her candy, she was ready to face whatever awaited her at the end of this mysterious chase. After a few moments of intense running, Maya noticed the other children racing behind her, trying to catch up. At the end of a narrow, dark street, the group arrived at a massive house. Its walls were covered in thick black vines, and the windows emitted a cold, lifeless glow. On the lawn stood monstrous figures, and twisted trees with dry branches seemed to reach out with claw-like fingers. As they approached the entrance, they saw rows of pumpkins with eerie, shifting faces that seemed to follow their every move. From inside the house came a soft, creaking sound, as if the doors were opening and closing by themselves, inviting those brave enough to enter. "This is the place," said the werewolf, pointing to the house with excitement. "This little ghost's parents always prepared the best Halloween decorations. If that prankster is hiding anywhere, it's definitely here." Maya's heart began to beat faster. Though she was a bit scared, her curiosity and desire to get her candy back were stronger. She knew it was just decorations, but everything looked so realistic that a shiver ran down her spine. The witch knocked on the door, softly but firmly. For a moment, everyone waited in tense anticipation as the creaky door slowly opened. From the darkness emerged a figure, the little ghost who had stolen Maya's candy. But this ghost was unlike any Maya had ever seen. He didn't look frightening or malevolent. Instead, there was something playful about him, and in his large eyes, Maya saw a glimmer of remorse. "Hi," said the ghost softly, a bit embarrassed. "I think I have something that belongs to you." From under his white sheet, he pulled out a handful of candy, not just the ones Maya had lost, but also additional new sweets that looked even more delicious. Maya, surprised, looked from the ghost to the basket. "Why did you take my candy?" she asked firmly, though her voice was gentle. The ghost looked at her with an apologetic smile. "It's a little tradition of ours," the ghost explained. "Every year, my friends and I pick a new arrival and play a harmless prank on them. We wanted to give you a little scare, but all in good fun. My parents always want their decorations to be the scariest around, so we thought this would be the perfect spot for our joke. We always return what we took, with a little extra to make up for any fright or confusion." The children who had accompanied Maya began to laugh, and our heroine smiled, feeling that everyone present had good intentions. She realized that it was all part of the Halloween fun and that her new friends had wanted to include her in the festivities. "All right, I forgive you," she said with a smile, reaching for her candies. "But next time, let me know beforehand so I don't have to run all over town looking for my sweets." Everyone burst into laughter, and the ghost jumped for joy. "I promise. Now let's go get more candy together. We'll show you the best spots in the neighborhood," the ghost proposed. Maya agreed with enthusiasm, and together with her new friends, she set off on further adventures. Now, she knew that Halloween was not just about scares and tricks, but also a wonderful opportunity to have fun and meet new, interesting people. It was a pity Halloween wasn't every day. The entire group, now including the ghost, decided to celebrate Halloween together by visiting houses and playing trick-or-treat.
Trick or treat, do you have any more sweets? Trick or treat, tonight monsters rule the street.
Maya and her new friends roamed the streets, laughing and collecting candy, enjoying every moment of their magical evening. Suddenly, after another visit to one of the houses, they spotted an interesting figure in the distance. A girl in a delicate traditional Chinese costume. She wore a red silk dress embroidered with golden dragons and flowers. Her hair was styled in 2 buns, decorated with tiny ribbons, and she held a small paper boat with a lantern in her hands. "Hi!" the girl called out, smiling at the group. "I'm Mei Hui. Can I join you? I just moved here recently, and I don't have many friends yet," she said, her expression slightly sad. The children greeted her warmly, and Maya, noticing her unusual outfit, asked with curiosity, "What are you dressed up as, Mei Hui?" "I've never seen anything like that before." Mei Hui's smile grew even wider. "That's part of the Chinese Ghost Festival, known in China as Zhangguanjie. During this time, the spirits of our ancestors return from the afterlife, and we try to feed them by preparing their favorite foods and gifts that might be useful to them in the afterlife." Maya listened with fascination, intrigued by this entirely new tradition. "But why are you celebrating this festival today on Halloween? Isn't it on a different day in China?" asked the boy in a slightly oversized scientist costume. Mei Hui, surprised by the boy's impressive knowledge, explained, "You're right. We traditionally celebrate the Ghost Festival in the summer, but my family decided to celebrate it here on Halloween because it's also a time when the spirit world connects with our world. For us, it's a way to blend our traditions with the new customs we're discovering here. And this costume is traditionally worn for the Chinese New Year, not Changyanjie, but for me, it's a way to show where I come from." Maya thought it was amazing how Mei Hui combined her traditions with the local customs. Thanks to this blend, Halloween was even more colorful and interesting. "What's the purpose of this little boat?" she asked. "We set boats afloat on the water during Changguanjie to help lost spirits. We believe that by doing this, we show them the way to the afterlife so they can find peace and stop wandering in the human world. Can we send a boat together?" she asked. Mei Hui nodded. "Of course! I have a few more lanterns. We can go to the nearby pond and release them there. It's the perfect spot for something like this." The children agreed enthusiastically, and the whole group headed towards the pond, which was nearby. When they arrived, Mei Hui began distributing the lanterns and showing them how to light them and gently place them on the water. "Remember to think of something good and wish something beautiful for your loved ones," she said, lighting her own boat. Maya felt that it was a unique magical experience, as if it were blending traditions and cultures. Together with the children, they lit their lanterns and gently set them afloat on the water. As the boats began to drift across the pond, their lights flickered in the darkness, creating a beautiful and serene scene. "How lovely," Maya whispered, looking at the lanterns from afar. "Thank you, Mei Hui, for sharing your tradition with us." The girl smiled warmly. "Thank you for this wonderful evening," Mei Hui said warmly. "Sometimes spirits need not only lights, but also the warmth and joy that people bring." The children stood in silence for a moment, watching the boats gently float by. There was something magical in how Halloween, which was meant to be a night of fear and fun, transformed into an evening of beauty, reflection, and friendship. As the evening came to an end, Maya returned to Aunt Ula's house with a basket of sweet candies and a heart full of warm memories. She knew she would never forget this extraordinary Halloween when spirits, vampires, and werewolves became her friends, and the traditions brought more than just sweets. It introduced her to a new, surprise-filled tradition, and the spirit who had so unexpectedly taken her candies became her favorite prankster in the world. Each year, as Halloween approached, Maya smiled as she thought about their first meeting and all the fun moments yet to come. And that's how Maya's Halloween story ends. Now, kids, you can dig into your Halloween candies. Oh, we almost forgot about them. Auntie, can you tell us another story? Next time, my kids. I have many more amazing stories up my sleeve. For more great stories, visit our channel.